विश्वं दर्पण दृश्यमान नगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यभिमः योगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ Verse 75 संसर्गो वा विशिष्टो वा वाक्यार्थो नात्र सम्मतः अखण्डैकरसत्वेन वाक्यार्थो विदुषां मतः. So in these verses, beginning from verse 70 up to verse 96, Vidyaranya is doing a small Mahavakya Vichara, and which is given in a Vakya Vritti, to show ultimately that Mahavakya gives you aparoksha jnana. Means don't wait for that this will give some theoretical knowledge. That's the idea actually. Aparoksha jnana means that you will know that I am Brahman. So you need not have to wait for Brahman experience. That is a criteria. That's how so much of emphasis. Otherwise, theoretical knowledge means what? Theoretical knowledge of Brahmans means what? Paroksha jnana. And therefore, then the question of realization, etc. will come. Sakshatkaraha. Or we can call mystic experience, because this cannot be ordinary experience then, right? I am experiencing you is an ordinary experience. But experiencing Brahman means it must be extraordinary. Mystic experience. All this idea will come later. So that is why, to remove all these notions that has been told here, Mahavakya Vichara will give you aparoksha jnana. And then he quoted Vakya Vritti 44, 45, 46. Of course, he skipped verse 47 and he quotes verse 48 in verse 74, and that we saw, of course. And then in verse 75, he quotes verse 38. I mean, the order is not maintained. So this verse 75 is a very technical verse, and we saw very elaborately, but I just again remind you what the content of that. This verse actually is quoted in Vedanta Sara also. And this particular shlok is interpreted in two ways, basically. Two different ways. The interpretation which is given in the Vedanta Sara is slightly, little tougher than this interpretation which is here. And so we'll go by this interpretation which has been shown here. So, in fact, if we go into the details, we mentioned this in Sanskritam. There are all the sentences are there. Can be classified into three types. And the first one is a samsargartha bodhaka vakya. Second is a vishishtartha bodhaka vakya. Third is a akhandartha bodhaka vakya. Right? And therefore, here we want to establish that Mahavakya comes in a third category. This is the essence of the verse. So, the first is this samsargartha bodhaka vakya. Samsarga, the mutual connection. Samsarga means a contact actually. Means mutual connection. So there is one type of sentence. Generally, this is you will find most common samsargartha bodhaka vakya. in which, well, in a sentence, in this type of sentence, several words are there. Several words are connected to each other through the verb, of course, through the verb, but all words are connected, and that is mutual connection. And so that is, first is like karta. So karta is connected to karma, karta is connected to karanam, right? And karta does some action, then it is, karta is connected to adhikaranam, place, and karta does something for some purpose, so connected to prayojanam, purpose. So all these words are mutually connected through the verb, that type of sentence. So then, well, in that case, you have to show clearly that this particular word is serving a purpose. This particular word is serving as, it is a karma. This particular word is a karta. We have to identify. And for that, you need a specific case which you apply to the verb. And so, the Prathama Vibhakti will be there. The word is in Prathama Vibhakti. Then it is, well, definitely, we can say it is a karta. Then Dvitiya Vibhakti, well, it is basically a karma. Then karanam, etc. and then some etc. So this is how Tritiya Vibhakti means karanam. So all words are mutually connected, and each word, well, denotes its status, right, of a connection through a case, particular case affix. And therefore, we could call it as a syntactical relationship of the words. Mutual relation is of syntactical type, in which definitely, as just in English we have a prepositions and all. Here we don't need all this. And therefore, the meaning of that preposition has been included in that case affix. So, like Ramena means by Rama. So, or in ashram. So, ashrame, like that, seventh case. So, we don't have a prepositions separate. Anyway, so this is this kind of a sentence. And I gave an example. Today I have to give a new example now. So like in ashrama, Swamiji goes to temple, well, by golf car for darshanam, etc. Suppose if I say like this. So Swamiji is going. So the kriya going. Kriya takes place in which place? In ashrama. So, well, definitely we'll use a seventh case, right? Ashrame, etc. And then Swami is going. He's a goer. So, he's a karta. So, Swami. So, because the word maybe is Swamin. I think it is a word is a Swamin. And so, the Prathama Vibhakti Ekvachanam will be Swami, we have to say. Swami, Swamino, Swamina. Therefore, so Swami, right? Swami, and then goes to temple, Devalaya. So Devalayam goes. So Swami Mandiram Gacchati. Ashrame Swami Mandiram Gacchati. Well, by what? By golf car. So I will put golf karena. I thought what is, because I don't know. We can say Vahanena. Okay. Vahanena. Vahanena Gacchati. For what? For darshanam. Darshanaya. Right? So, ashrame, Swami, Devalayam, Darshanaya, Vahanena Gacchati. Here, so now these words, all words are connected. Swami is connected to Devalayam, and Swami is connected to the car, Swami is connected to the purpose. So, all words are connected. And those words with a mutual connection gives a meaning of the sentence. That's how this is called samsargartha bodhaka vakya. By samsargena artha. So by mutual connection, they give a meaning of the sentence. So and then we can, this is one type of sentence. And then second one is a sentence, in which there is only one substance. In the first case, there were several substances, ashram and Swami and car and all. And here a second Vishishtartha Bodhaka Vakya. So there is a one substance, and all other are adjectives of that. So adjective is not a separate entity. Adjective always resides in a substantive. And therefore, I gave you an example, Dasharatha Putraha, Kodanda Panihi, etc., etc., Sitapatihi. Well, Lakshmana Bhrata, Ramaha, Agacchati. So Rama alone is a substantive here. And all other are adjectives. And therefore, definitely here you won't find, Ramaha, that's a substantive. If it is in the Prathama Vibhakti, then all other adjectives also will be in the Prathama Vibhakti. And therefore, in this sentence, well, all the words are we called in opposition to each other, right? And so, this is a second type of sentence in which, well, there are adjectives, there is a substantive, and they are connected. There is also connection, but here we call it as a mutual qualified, mutual qualification. Vishishta artha means they give a meaning of the sentence by mutually qualifying each other. Mutually. We generally feel that adjective qualifies a substantive. It's not correct. Even substantive qualifies a adjective. Because here you see the Ramaha, we say, well, Sitapatihi is a adjective and Rama is a substantive. So Sitapati well is qualifying Rama. Right? Word Sitapati qualifies word Rama. But Rama also qualifies a Sitapati. Right? Or if this particular word we feel a little difficulty, I can take another one. Like Dasharatha Putra, let us. So this will be easier. Dasharatha Putra Rama. So Dasharatha Putra Rama, Dasharatha Putra is an adjective, qualifies Rama. Rama also qualifies Dasharatha Putra. Because no other son of Dasharatha but Rama. Therefore, even word Rama qualifies Dasharatha Putra, Dasharatha Putra qualifies Rama. So the Visheshanani are there, many Visheshanas are there, etc. And one substantive Vishesha is there. And so we call as a Vishishtartha Bodhaka Vakyam. And here I told you the characteristic is of a this, well, in which you find a mutual qualification will be the thing. And all are in Samanadhikaranyam. And in a Samsargartha Bodhaka Vakyam, well, you will find, well, all are in Vayadhikaranyam. You won't find in the same case affix. So, and then for Ashrami, Swami, and then Deva Layam, Dvitiya Vibhakti, and then Vahanena, Tritiya Vibhakti, and Darshanaya, fourth case. All different. So that is a Vaiyadhikaran. They are not in opposition. In Samanadhikaran, the Lakshana of Samanadhikaran means all will be in the same case affix. So that also, and the third type of Vakya reveals a Akhandartha Bodhaka Vakyam, reveals a essential identity, oneness of seemingly different people or substances. It doesn't talk about a different attributes of one substance. That's in the second case. So this seemingly difference of different objects are negated and removed. So an essential oneness is established. So in Vishishtartha Bodhaka Vakyam, well, definitely attributes are added, right? Kodanda Panihi, Dasharatha Putra, etc., for a Ram. So their attributes are added. In here, Akhandartha Bodhaka Vakyam, attributes are negated to reveal an essential oneness. So that's a big difference between them. And for this Akhandartha Bodhaka Vakyam, we saw also Soyam Devadatta, etc. So Saha Ayam Devadatta, Saha reveals a person with a different attributes of a different time. This Devadatta of 30 years ago. So he was a 30 at that time. So time, and now he is 60. So time-wise, well, also different. We cannot establish oneness. So we have to remove that. That time also we can take as an attribute. We can remove that. Place also was different. Right now he is here in Bombay. At that time, before 30 years, he was in Delhi. I gave that example, you know very well. So the place also was different. So if you want to establish identity, you have to remove. Place-wise also, we cannot establish an identity. Time-wise, we cannot establish identity. And naturally, 30 years ago, he was of a different look and, all this different dress and many other things. And therefore, that is not right now. So those attributes, all attributes have to be removed in order to establish a identity between them. Therefore, so here, well, if you want to, so Akhandartha Bodhaka Vakya means in which you remove all the attributes. So Nirvishesha Devadatta is understood, and that is removed means it is all a purely cognitive thing. So Nirvishesha Devadatta is basically understood in the intellect. Soyam Devadatta. We can also call Akhandartha Bodhaka Vakyam, we can call also as a Nirvishesha Bodhaka Vakyartham. We can say that way. And here also Samanadhikaran will be there. All will be in Prathama Vibhakti. Right? Saha Ayam Devadatta. Saha also is in Prathama Vibhakti Ekvachanam. Ayam also is in Prathama Vibhakti Ekvachanam. And Devadatta also is in Prathama Vibhakti Ekvachanam. So same case affix in the for all the words in a sentence. We can call them as in Samanadhikaran. So Vishishtartha Bodhaka Vakyam, second type of a Vakya. There also, well, I told you adjectives and substantive will be in a same case affix. Here also it will be the same. Only in a first type of sentences, Samsargatha Bodhaka Vakyam, where you will have all the words which are mutually connected to each other will be in a different case affix, third case and second case and fourth case and even a first case also, etc. Okay. And so then this here, now this, our shloka says, atra means in this Mahavakya, samsargartha means many substance with different relation. So, well, this mutual connection, and also Visheshartha, one substance with a different attributes. Well, vakya, this kind of a Vakyartha, na sammataha, well, this kind of a meaning of the sentence cannot be taken for Mahavakya. So Mahavakyartha na sammataha. Mahavakyartha we cannot take it as a Vishishtartha, mutually qualifying each other. Or Mahavakya, the meaning of the Mahavakya, we cannot take it also as a Samsargartha. We cannot be connected mutually like that. Then what kind of a Vakya it is? Well, it is Akhanda Ekarasattvena. Well, Akhanda Ekarasatvena means it reveals one substance without attributes. Means entity is one, reality is one. So Akhandartha we can take it even Nirvisheshartha also. So like Nirvishesha, Devadatta, etc. So that way only we can take it. So Akhanda Ekarasatvena Mahavakyartha Vidusham Mataha. We have to take that whole thing. This Mahavakyartha is accepted by wise people as Akhanda Ekarasatvena Nirvishesha Eka Arthatvena. So this is, Vidhyaranya does not say why we cannot take 1 and 2 for Mahavakya, our Mahavakya. But we can understand that, well, definitely this Vayadikaran Vakyam, well, see here, Mahavakya, the very first thing is, Mahavakya, all the Mahavakyas you check, they are all in Prathama Vibhakti, Prajnanam Brahma, etc., Tattvamasi, or Ayam Atma Brahma, or Brahma Aham Asmi, etc. All Vakya you check, all the words are in a same case, right? All in a same case. Prajnanam Brahma also, both are in Prathama Vibhakti. Tat, Tvam, Asi. All the three are in Prathama Vibhakti Ekvachan. Then Aham Brahma Asmi. Well, that also in Prathama Vibhakti Ekvachan. Aham Prathama Vibhakti Ekvachanam. Brahma Prathama Vibhakti Ekvachanam. This Brahma word has come from this Brahman word is there. Brahman word is Nakarantaha and it is a neuter word here, not Pullinga. Pullinga means we'll have a Brahma, Brahmana, Brahmana, that kind of those kind of forms are there. But Brahman neuter word also is there. And that Brahman Pullinga means that our Brahmaji, Vidhi. We call her Vidhi also. And this Brahman is a neuter word. That is our Brahman. And so, that Brahman Pullinga can be a Brahmana also. So there are many, but here this Brahman means neuter word. And there the Prathama Vibhakti Ekvachanam is Brahma only. Brahma, Brahmani, Brahmani. Those kind of forms are there. So, any word, Ayam Atma Brahma, Ayam Prathama Vibhakti Ekvachan, Atma Prathama Vibhakti Ekvachan, Brahma Prathama Vibhakti Ekvachan, Aham Brahma Asmi, I told you that also Prathama. So, and therefore, the first possibility is gone. In first possibility, Samsarga Artha Bodhaka Vakyam, where all the meaning of the sentence you are getting through mutual connection, well, definitely, there all the words are in a Vayadikaran, but they are not in the same case affix. Mahavakya is all in the same case affix, Samanadikaran. And therefore the first possibility is automatically gone. Right? Now the second possibility is this, that can it be taken as a Vishishtartha Bodhaka Vakyam or not? Then, well, if then in that case, in Mahavakya, Vishishtartha means, well, what? One is a Visheshana, other is a Visheshya. Okay, we cannot take Paramatma as a Visheshana of a Jiva. Naturally, we feel the Jiva is a Visheshana of a Paramatma, and that is what Vishishtadvaitin says, right? That Jiva is a Visheshana. Jiva is a non-separate from Paramatma, but Jiva is a Visheshana. They all call Jagat also, but let us talk right now about this. Mahavakya means Jiva Brahman. So Jiva is a Visheshana of a Brahman, Paramatma. We call it as a Angangi Sambandha. Jiva is Anga, part, and Brahman, Paramatma is a Angi, whole. Well, and then that would be a serious consequence, because Jiva means, Jiva is a part of Paramatma. Jivatma is a part of Paramatma. Then, and Jivatma is a non-separate part. Well, whole includes all the parts. So Jivatma, well, with all its inferior attributes, will be the part of Paramatma. So in Paramatma, we have to include those inferior attributes also. Then, so this Jiva with inferior attributes is non-separate from Paramatma. The other Jiva is with inferior attributes is non-separate from Paramatma. So like that, well, all the Paramatma will be ultimately with all inferior attributes. So then Paramatma is even worse than a simple Jiva. Simple Jiva has a few inferior attributes. Paramatma will have all the inferior attributes. Because, no, Swamiji, Paramatma cannot be with inferior attributes. Then you have to accept that Jiva is a mithya. If you say Jiva is a real, and well, connection of a Jiva to the Paramatma, who is also real, and then in that case, well, this will be a big issue. Then Ishvara will be like, Jiva is Dukhi, but Jivatma is a non-separate from the Ishvara. Ishvara is a Dukhi, more Dukhi. Naturally, all Jivas, Dukkham will be included in Ishvara's Dukkham also. And therefore, well, Vishishtartha Bodhaka Vakyam also we cannot take, because there cannot be a liberation. The moksha is impossible for it. Well, Ishvara himself is not free, then where is our question? And therefore, ultimately, so Vishishtartha Bodhaka Vakyam also we cannot take it. Okay. Then now verse 76, now further it has been, Vidyaranya says something. That is verse number 39 of Vakyavrutti. Pratyak bodho ya abhati saha advaya sodvayananda lakshanah advayananda rupasya pratyak bodhaika lakshanah. So Shankaracharya says that if you take Mahavakya as the third type of a sentence, well, then our understanding will be Jiva and Paramatma, not two entities. Jiva is none other than Paramatma, you have to say. Paramatma is none other than this so-called Jiva also. So all differences between Jivatma and Paramatma are superficial, and which does not belong to really the Atma or Brahman. So Pratyak, that's what he conveys here. Pratyak bodhaha yaha abhati. Pratyak bodhaha. Bodha means a Chaitanya, consciousness. Pratyak means inner. Means inner, the consciousness which is inner means what? Which is in the form of a witness, right? Witness to all the five shits, which is in the form of five. And therefore, so this inner consciousness, essential Chaitanyam, which is retained after, well, negating these three bodies, etc., or Panchakoshas, etc., along with the Chidabhasa, right? Chidabhasa also is negated, because if you negate the medium, where is the reflection then? So if you say negating means, here saying mithya. If you say that all the three shariras are mithya, then definitely the reflected consciousness also automatically becomes mithya. So they are negated means they are understood as a mithya. So pratyak bodha, so this consciousness which is in the form of a sakshi, which is none other than the I, sa advayananda lakshana, well, that remaining consciousness of this Jivatma, sa advayananda lakshana, is none other than this Paramatma in essential nature. Now in case of Paramatma, well, and now we have to go to other side. In case of Paramatma, you have to remove what? Prapanchatraya, right? Karana Prapancha. And Karana Prapancha means Maya. And then Sukshma Prapancha and this gross Prapancha. So, Samashti. So, Prapanchatraya and Chidavasa along with that. That also has to be negated. So, and then, there what is left over is this Advayananda Lakshana, this non-dual and Ananda. Ananda means which is, its nature, which is limitlessness. Or we can say even, which is Bimbananda, if you want to make a difference between this experiential happiness. Pratibimbananda means say Anandamaya Kosha, which is present even in a deep sleep state. It is present. As such, Shastra says, at the time of sleep, the Jiva merges into Brahman, Sat. In Chandogya, very beautifully it has been said. Sata Somya Tada Sampanno Bhavati. So, Sata Somya, Sad Rupena. He resolves into Sat. He becomes one with the Sat. Jivatma is one with the Sat. Oh, then Jivatma is one with Sat, then I should not know in a waking state, right? Why should I understand now Mahavakya? Because every day I merge with the Brahman. So I and Brahman become one. And there, but Karana Sharira is present. That's it. Avidya. Avidya only makes a difference between Jiva and Brahman. So then we say, okay, so one still, even though you are Sat in a Sushupti, but basically covered. So we sometimes say Anandamaya Kosha. Karana Sharira is equated with Anandamaya Kosha. Manomaya, Pranamaya and Vijnanamaya is equated with the Sukshma Sharira, and Annamaya is Kosha. This body, Sula Sharira, is equated with the Annamaya. But anyway, so this is how, here it says, and that is definitely, so it is a Pratibimbananda, Anandamaya Kosha, experiential pleasures, but they are mithya basically. And Brahman is a Ananda. So here Advayananda, which is non-dual, which is limitless. You can translate even Ananda as a fullness or limitlessness. In fact, Pujya Swamiji says the limitlessness, which is my nature, manifest as fullness in the moment of a joy. Anyway, so this is, and so it is, said in a reverse manner also now, that Paramatma, because he says, Yaha Pratyak Bodha Abhati Saha Advayananda Lakshana. And Advayananda Rupaha Paramatma Pratyak Bodha Eka Lakshana. So, this Paramatma is which is none other than this Jivatma essentially. Essentially means removing attributes, taking a Lakshana, etc. Advayananda Rupa, this Paramatma who is essentially Advayananda, non-dual and limitless, is Pratyak Bodha Eka Lakshana, which is in the form of the Sakshi Chaitanya, which is in the form of I, which is Sakshi Chaitanya of all the 5 sheaths or all the 3 bodies. So this is how he is equating. He wants to convey this Jivatma is Paramatma. Paramatma alone, through this Avidya Upadhi alone, he appears as a Jiva. There are no 2 entities. It's an essential oneness. So verse now 77. Ithamanyonyatadatmya pratipattiryada bhavet abrahmatvam tamarthasya ya vyavarteta tadaivahi. Now what is the result of gaining this oneness? That has been told here in, and this is of course a Vakyavritti. Vakya is, sentence, verse 40. So 38, 39 and 40. 38, verse 75 is 38. Verse 76 is a 39 in a Vakyavritti. And now verse 77 is verse number 40 of a Vakyavritti. So Shankaracharya says in Vakyavritti verse 40, this, that when Aikya Vakyam is, Aikya Jnanam is received, then immediate consequences of all knocking off 2 misconceptions. Very beautifully it has been told here. And both, these 2 misconceptions, conceptions are based on what? 2 things are involved in Mahavakya, Jivatma and Paramatma. So with reference to Jivatma and Paramatma, 2 misconceptions are, knocked out when you understand the oneness. So just as when you know rope is a rope, well, then misconception of the snake goes away, like that. So, okay, what is a misconception? First misconception. Well, first misconception is a misconception for the jiva, of a jiva. What is that? That this, I am a finite entity. When the jiva understands that I am Brahman, that misconceptions regarding jivatma is what? Finitude, naturally. That goes away. And so finitude means limitations. Limitation in terms of three things: desha, kala, and vastu. So when I claim I am Paramatma, infinite, definitely, Advayananda, so I am infinite, well, then Paramatma is equated with me. Then my notions about, well, about this, finitude gets knocked off. And this finitude is called Abrahmatva. Brahmatva means, infiniteness. But this Abrahmatva means finitude. So itham means in this manner, means anyonya tadatma pratipatti hi bhavet. Anyonya tadatma pratipatti. So this aikya jnanam means jivatma is Paramatma, Paramatma is alone is this jivatma. So yaha tadatma pratipatti. Tadatma means aikyam. Pratipatti means jnanam. Tadatma adhyasa is one different thing. Tadatma adhyasa means what? Two things are separate, distinct, and you take it as a one. That is tadatma adhyasa. And tadatma pratipatti means the two things, you take it as two things, but really it is essentially one. So that is how anyonya tadatma pratipatti hi bhavet, itham in this manner, but through the Mahavakya, aikya jnanam. Once the person gains, yada bhavet means when the knowledge arises, tvam arthasya abrahmatvam. Well, tvam arthasya abrahmatvam. Notion of this finitude center on this I, jivatma, vyavarteta, well, it is displaced. Where? In the buddhi. It's a cognitive thing. Tadaevahi. Acharya says tadaevahi. Means at that time itself. Well, so jnana prapti kale eva brahmani vritti. That's what it wants to convey. So, and suppose you say, no, I have a jnanam, but still Brahman has not gone, then, well, definitely, I have jnanam itself is a Brahma, right? So, therefore, that cannot be there together. Anyway, let's go to verse number 78 now. Tadarthasya cha paroksham yadyevam kim tatah shrunu Purnanandaika pratyak bodho vatisthate. Well, so now second type of a misconception, centered on Ishvara now, Paramatma. First misconception centered on Aham, Jivatma. Now second misconception centered on Paramatma. There is some misconception with regard to Paramatma. That also goes away by understanding the oneness between Jivatma and Paramatma through Mahavakya. So what is that misconception? One word, simple. Paroksham. So paroksham. Akshanaha param. Paroksham. So, well, Paramatma is beyond our senses, beyond our instruments of knowledge. So, or Paramatma is remote. Ishvara is a remote. And even in fact our dhyana shlokas also, well, reveal that, well, I confirm our Brahma also. Kshiro danvat pradeshe, Shuchimani vilasat, etc., right? Kshiro danvat pradeshe. So the Paramatma is, taking rest in that Kshira Sagara, etc. And okay, can you see that Kshira Sagara? No, I can't see. So therefore Paramatma is a remote. That kind of a thing, that is a Brahma. So in the Vishishtadvaitam and Dvaitam, both, well, they talk about moksha as going through Shuklagati and gaining certain loka. Vishishtadvaitin talks about Vaikuntha, etc. And the other Dvaitins also may be talking their own way. They also have their loka, ultimately. Our ISKCON people and all, they say, well, this, I think, Goloka Vrindavan, etc. So anyway. And well, if Shiva is different from me, then I will gain Shivaloke Mahiyate. I will go to Shivaloka, means Kailasa. Anyway, whatever it is. So ultimately, all are name of Brahmaloka, ultimately. So through Shuklagati, Bhagavan says in 8th chapter, through Shuklagati, person reaches to Brahmaloka. Through Krishna Gati, person reaches to Swarga, etc. Anyway, so this kind of a thing is there. And that those are the lokas where Paramatma resides. And so then I permanently become a resident for those loka, and always I will be with the Paramatma. That, in association with the Paramatma. That is moksha. That kind of a thing is there. Anyway, so description of loka also is there. And so this is very easy. Such kind of a misconception, the Paramatma is away. Well, and by listening to all this, that our Brahma of this remoteness also gets strengthened. And here, the second thing is, we define Paramatma, which is very it is very rampant. Paramatma is Jagat Karan. It's not some kind of, it is true also. Jagat Karan, right? The Jagat Karanam also leads to Parokshatva. Because generally, the Karanam will be there before. Karyam will be later. Like, and so this is a remoteness in terms of a first remoteness I have shown in terms of a place, going to particular loka. There is a remoteness with reference to time also. Like, suppose my great grandfather is a cause of me. Now he is remote. Well, he is not there, but it is remote in terms of time now. So this kind of a thing. So he is a cause of me. Great grandfather is a cause of me, Karanam. So that reveals the remoteness in terms of time. He is no more there. So he was maybe 100 years ago, etc. So that kind of a thing. So same way, Jagat Karanam can lead to this Brahma in terms of a time. So not only this Paramatma is remote in terms of a place, also remote in terms of a time. So Karanam reveals remoteness in terms of time. So spatially and time-wise, temporal remoteness. So that is negated by what? By simply saying that Jagat Karanam Brahma is I. Now where is remoteness? Right? I means what? Which is now, right? And here, which is now and here. Itself, now and here. When I say that Jagat Karanam Brahman is now and here, now means definitely the remoteness in terms of time has gone. And here removes the remoteness in terms of place. So beautiful, right? Mahavakya removes the misconception of the remoteness with respect to Paramatma. And both kind of misconception, the remote and the misconception in terms of remoteness, spatially and temporal, both, by saying that Jagat Karan Brahman is I, which is now and here. So this is how. So that also we should, the tadartha such a paroksham, that much we have to take and connect it to the, in a previous verse with a verb, vyavarteta. So, tadarthasya means tat pada arthasya, naturally, right? Artha means a meaning. So, this tat means it's a word, tat pada arthasya. Tat pada arthasya means that the meaning of this, word tat, that is Paramatma, and paroksham. A misconception regarding that Paramatma is paroksham. Parokshasya bhavaha paroksham. And paroksham or parokshaha, you can say akshanaha param or akshanaha paraha, whatever you want to take. So, an akshaha means a sense organ. Anyway, so this is, so very seeing of Paramatma in terms of time in place. So, when anything that reveals one thing, that anything for any, if you want to objectify something, you will have to bring the time and space concept, otherwise you cannot. And therefore, if you say paroksham could be of both the types, temporal and spatial, then definitely Paramatma becomes an object. And therefore, then either you see Paramatma here or you see outside, you objectify it, ultimately in terms of place or in terms of a time, etc. And Paramatma is not an object. Why? Because the Paramatma is aham, the subject. And therefore, definitely this paroksham also is vyavarteta, the remoteness of this Paramatma Brahman also goes away. So Mahavakya reveals, knocks out two types of misconception. One pertaining to Jivatma, and that is finitude, because you are equating with the Brahman, Jagat Karan Brahman. But why are you adding Jagat Karam? Because to reveal Jagat Karam is which is all pervading. We want to say that. But the Karanatva status of that Brahman is mithya basically. Brahman is not a Karanam, through Maya only it is a Karanam. So that is how, even though we say Jagat Karanam Brahma, because it has been Shastra reveals it as a Jagat Karanam, and that is Tatasya Lakshana, etc. The Karanatvam, if Jagat is a Karya, then definitely we have to take Brahman as a Karanam. But if Jagat is not a Karya, then there is a question of taking this Brahman as a Karanam also. Karyam itself is a mithya thing. Anyway, so there is no Karana Karya Sambandha also between Brahman and the Jagat. That's how that factor of Maya is there, which takes care of everything, right? And therefore, so tadarthasya paroksham, and the misconception with regard to Paramatma's remoteness goes away, and Jiva's finitude goes away by this Mahavakya. So tadaeva vyavarteta. The person will understand. When he understands the Mahavakya, both the types of misconception goes away. It's not that, so samsara goes away. That's all it is, right? Samsara goes away. You won't take it yourself as a life of a finitude. That's a samsara. That only leads to kama, and then once you say I am a finite entity, limited entity, kama is going to arise ultimately to get fullness, and that manifests into karma, and then karma phala, and then another raga dvesha, and then again new desires, and then karma, and then karma phala. This is what the samsara is. So tadaiva Bhashyakara, the Shankaracharya, in Vakyavrutti says tada, at that time itself, when he understands Mahavakya clearly. To understand Mahavakya clearly is a job of Shravanam. That's how we say to gain aparoksha jnanam, Shravanam alone is done. That we have discussed before also, the Jagat Karanam Brahma Ahamasmi, that should be clear. Then Nididhyasanam has some other role that we have discussed also, and we will discuss also. But Mahavakya Shravanam, gains you aparoksha jnanam is this: I am Jagat Karanam Brahman. So that is the thing. So there is no partial samsara nivritti, it just goes away. And then Purvapakshi asked a question. So tadarthasya cha paroksham, and connect it with the previous verse, vyavarteta. Tada eva hi vyavarteta. At that time itself it goes away. Then yadi evam means this is a Purvapaksha. Yadi evam, if such a thing is there, means both the types of Brahma are gone away by Mahavakya. Tata kim? Then what is the consequence of this Brahma Nivrutti? What will happen if two misconceptions will go away? Let's Purvapakshi ask. Then Shankaracharya answers in verse number 78. That is a Vakyavrutti, verse number 41. So it's a Vakyavrutti, not Kavyavrutti. So there is one Swami basically gave a lecture on Shodasha Samskara. Because all his disciples were talking about that being a Hindu, I should know, about our samskaras. So he said 16 types of samskaras are there. It's samskara and refinement ultimately. But anyway, so Shodasha Samskara, he gave a lecture. One person could not attend. So next day he came and met Swami, and he said, yesterday you gave a talk on samsara that I want to listen again if you have recorded. So this Swami also was very, witty. He said, why should I talk about samsara which you already experienced? And therefore, so samskara, he did not hear properly and understood as a samsara. So this is also Vakya Vritti, not Kavya Vritti. Anyway, Shankaracharya ji answers now. Yadi evam, Purvapakshi says, yadi evam, if this is the case, means both the types of Brahmas are, gone away, are gone through Mahavakya. Then what will be its consequence, etc. Then Shankaracharya says, Shunu. Well, please listen. I will tell you that. The consequence of after misconception goes away. What happens? Purnananda ekarupena pratyak bodha avatishthat. So, Purna Ananda Eka Rupena Pratyak Bodha Avatishe. Bodha means a Sakshi Chaitanya. Pratyak means inner. By Bodha can be taken just Chaitanya, but Pratyak Bodha. Okay. The inner consciousness, which is in the form of Sakshi, which is in the form of I, Aham. I am Sakshi of all the three koshas, all the three shariras or panchakoshas. That's a Pratyak. Pratyak is always means inner. Parak means outer. So they always say Pratyagatma. Pratyagatma is in form of I. I is the most inner, right? All other koshas will be later, means which is not available for objectification. We should understand this thing. By Pratyak, it reveals that Atma is not available for objectification. Anything which you objectify is considered external to you. Naturally. If you are objectifying, even in a mind, your thought, etc., they are considered external that way. So, well, definitely Pratyak indicates it is not available for objectification. So, Sakshi, I mean. So, Pratyak Purna this Pratyak Bodha Purna Ananda Eka Rupena. Okay. So, Pratyak Bodha Avatishthate. So, this Sakshi Chaitanyam, which is, I mean, the inner consciousness, well, Avatishthate will remain. How? So, well, in form of a Pratyak Bodha Eka Rupena, in form of a non-dual, limitless consciousness, in form of limitless Ananda, you can say. So, I who am a inner Chaitanya, which is in the form of Sakshi, will abide as limitless consciousness. As a result of this, what? As a result of destruction of these twofold Brahmas. And Brahma will be, we can, in Sanskritam also we can use this word. One Brahma is Paroksham and other Brahma is Abrahmatvam. We can say that. Abrahmatvam is finitude. That is with reference to Jivatma. And with reference to Paramatma, it is Paroksham. So, I remain as a Chidananda. Well, that is moksha. Nothing to limit you. Moksha means freedom from limitation. Centered on I. If I don't feel any limitation centered on I am free. That's it. And well, that is not a state, because that's your nature. You are free. Consciousness is all pervading. Consciousness even, consciousness objectifies time, space and everything. They don't objectify the consciousness as the object. Consciousness objectifies them. And therefore, ultimately, no time experiences consciousness. Well, due to consciousness, time is experience. Consciousness experiences time means time is pervaded by consciousness. That's it. Time is pervaded by consciousness. And therefore time exists, consciousness exists. Time is not, consciousness is. Time is consciousness is, time is not, consciousness is. Well, that proves that consciousness is independent in terms of existence. Therefore, time cannot affect me. That's it. If time cannot affect me, there is no question of fearing. Fear of death and this all. Fear of old age and all goes away. Moksha. No fear. Freedom from fear. Freedom from sadness. Freedom from fear. All this. It's ultimately freedom. Anyway, so this is moksha. Swarupena avasthan. Yeah, we can use even Yoga Sutra. Swarupena avasthan. To abide in one's own nature. Verse 79. Evam sati mahavakyat paroksha jnanamiriyate yaistesham shastra siddhanta vignyanam shobhate taram. Very important verse. Vidyaranya says, this being so, while it is clear that Mahavakya Vichara is able to give this aparoksha jnana. And there is very wide misconception in Vedanta also, in the seekers of Vedanta, in circles of Vedanta, well, that this Mahavakya Vichara, well, which we gain, we do with the help of a Shastra and Guru, and well, we get a jnana, Vichara means analysis. Analysis of Mahavakya with the help of a Shastra Guru, etc., will give you Jnanam, definitely. But that is Paroksha Jnanam. We call it as a book knowledge, etc. We call it academic knowledge, etc. Theoretical knowledge. People use different words. And you should not be satisfied with that. Well, and so then what should we do? We should do meditation, right? So then meditation gives you a Paroksha Jnanam. They don't say Aparoksha Jnanam. They don't know this Paroksha Jnanam, Aparoksha Jnanam. They have a different words. Theoretical knowledge and practical knowledge. That is realization. Or let's say a mystic experience. Or Sakshatkara. That word also they use. So this is how Atma Sakshatkara, Paramatma Sakshatkara, etc. etc. So moksha is through Sakshatkara. Then, but we are studying. No, but that gives you theoretical knowledge. So that cannot give you, that cannot make you free. So for Aparoksha Jnanam, meditation. For Paroksha Jnanam, attending the class, etc. So this kind of a misconception is there, and that has been now addressed by Vidyaranya Swami himself. So yaihi, well, Paroksha Jnanam iryate. We can divide in terms of our, Shravan Manan Nididhyasanam, etc. also. Shravanam Mananam will give you Paroksha Jnanam. I have heard people say that. Shravan Mananam gives a Paroksha Jnanam. And Nididhyasanam, which is a meditation, contemplation, gives you a Paroksha Jnanam. So you know that you are Brahman, but you have still not experienced Brahman. To experience Brahman, one has to definitely do Nididhyasanam. They say like that. So very, very, very right. It itself is a very great joke, right? So yaihi Paroksha Jnanam. If you say Brahman is to be experienced, then what you have understood as a Mahavakya, that's a big question. Mahavakya means you are Brahman. Therefore, I am Brahman. Then where is a question of experiencing I? I is always experienced. There is not a special moment of experiencing I. There is always a moment of experiencing other than the I, which is object of I, the consciousness. Anyway, yaihi Paroksha Jnanam iryate. Well, they give a example that I have heard this, that if a very beautiful book has been published, I think by Government of India or on Kailas Mansarovar. Very beautiful. If you see that, you really feel that I should go to Kailas Mansarovar. Beautiful pictures, photographs and nice description of Kailas Mansarovar. After reading the book, I'm telling you that the people who give this kind of an explanation, Paroksha Jnanam, bookish knowledge, and this, and Aparoksha Jnanam means experiencing, etc., they give this example. That if you read about a Kailas Mansarovar, etc., well, you get what kind of a knowledge? They are asking us. We say Paroksha Jnanam. Naturally, well, book knowledge is a Paroksha Jnanam. And then you will realize, you will experience Kailas Mansarovar when? And definitely after you reach there. And therefore, same way here, in a class, etc., well, your teacher may be teaching with what? Because he is giving through books all this knowledge, etc. Oh, that's a bookish knowledge. That's a Paroksha Jnanam only. And Aparoksha Jnanam, for that one has to sit in meditation, Nididhyasanam, etc. Our simple answer is this. What you gave an example of Paroksha Jnanam through Kailas Mansarovar, Paroksha Jnanam of a Kailas Mansarovar through the book of a book on Kailas Mansarovar, that's very true. And once you go and you experience Kailas Mansarovar, Aparoksha Jnanam, very beautiful. But Kailas Mansarovar is remote, is away from me. In that case, that is possible. But here, I was, and I will be Brahman, whether I know it or not, which is ever evident, Sakshi Chaitanya. And therefore, Paroksha Jnanam through Mahavakya, etc., cannot be possible. It is. We cannot say through Mahavakya only you gain a Paroksha Jnanam. Through Shravana Mananam, well, you gain a Paroksha Jnanam. You cannot say. Iti iryate means some people. Yaihi iryate. Yaihi Mahavakyat Paroksha Jnanam iti iryate. Paroksha Jnanam is through Mahavakya only. And well, that is been told. Iti iryate means this has been said by some people. Well, Tesham. Acharya says, Tesham Shastra Siddhanta Vijnanam Shobhate Taram. Well, Well, so he's making a fun of them. So their knowledge of, teaching of this Vedanta is very wonderful knowledge they have, etc. Like that he says. Nididhyasana is not for aparoksha jnanam, Nididhyasana is not for moksha. We have discussed, right, all these things. Nididhyasana is not for extraordinary experience also. Generally, people have that thing also, then sitting in a meditation, you experience something extraordinary. And even if you experience something extraordinary, we don't deny, but there is no extraordinary experience of a Brahman is possible. Any extraordinary, ordinary or extraordinary experience is always pertaining to object. That's it. That's how it, whatever object could be extraordinary. We say extraordinary experience. Object of experience is extraordinary. Object of experience is ordinary. We say ordinary experience. It's always object. And therefore, Nididhyasanam, or let's say meditation, suppose it gives you some kind of an extraordinary experience. It's always pertaining to object, not for the subject. Subject cannot be an object of experience. How can Swamiji, that's how I said this, to be a conscious of a consciousness is a ridiculous thing. Conscious of a consciousness. What is that? So means you are conscious of consciousness, means you are another consciousness. Who is the conscious of this consciousness? Also itself you have missed the Mahavakya itself. Once you say it's an object, where is an identity between I and Brahman? It's a very, 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 I don't know, but this is very rampant. Unfortunately, this should not be, but it is very rampant in a Vedanta circle also. Experiencing Brahman, etc. and Nididhyasanam or some way, other way. And this all is a theoretical knowledge. That's how even they say, Swami, can you come and give us some talk? Then they will say this thing. Vedanta in practical life. That they will say. Because this is there. But it's not practical. Amazing it is, right? Anyway. So Nididhyasanam is just does one thing. Since a beginningless time, you have taken yourself as a samsari, a finite being, a limited being that occurs again and again, even after gaining this knowledge. It's just a habit. We call it as a mechanical thinking, etc. Well, and therefore, this habitual, idea of I am a samsari, etc. My judgment of myself based on my mental condition, well, then should be removed. Habitual error, etc. For that, Nididhyasanam helps you. So, the Nididhyasanam you address all the time, well, that this notion is wrong, that I am not a samsari, etc. I am not a mind also, you have to say. Sometimes certain other issues are there. We have discussed this also. In chapter 6, we discussed about that, that Jnani, what Jnani does in Nididhyasanam. He is very clear through Shravanam Manam that I am Brahman. Then what does he do? Then we gave these three things, Vairagya, Bodha and Uparamaha. Well, we talked about it, that he may choose to improve his mind. He knows mind is an object, but he wants to improve the mind. Things which are with you, you may want to improve. Like that, he improves his mind. And to improve the mind is very essential. Bhagavan tells also that, well, definitely his vyavahara. As such, Brahman, being Brahman, what kind of a vyavahara is there? No vyavahara. But then he is a Jivan Mukta and he is doing a lot of vyavahara. So then his vyavahara should reflect some knowledge, this knowledge. So vyavahara should be proper, And therefore, then people will have a Shraddha, etc. in the person, in the Vedanta, in the Shastra, everywhere. Therefore, it is very essential that sometimes a person gains a knowledge and a lot of doshas in the mind, he understands them as a mithya. And therefore, but now he takes up this job. He knows he is not a mind, but still he takes up a job of improving the mind with a objectification. Objectivity, let us say. So like, certain Mahatmas, and Jnani Purushas, well, they take a walk to reduce the, the weight, which has nothing to do with their moksha. They know they are free. They have no weight. Or but still they do. And some people, yesterday, I think day before yesterday, they asked the question, how will you understand the person has a moksha? To an extent, you can understand that the person is happy with himself without any external gadgets. If you find some person without any contact to external gadgets, etc., is just happy with himself, that you can definitely understand as Sthita Prajna Lakshana. But other than that, you can't understand, how he's working, because basically his manifestation in the Vyavahara will be not as a Brahman. It is as a Mithya Jiva. He assumes a role and does a role of a teacher, role of anything, even role of a eater, or role of even doing a darshanam, etc. All different roles he play. Because Vyavahara is done not by Brahman, Vyavahara is done by this Mithya Jiva, Ahankara only. Therefore, that Vyavahara should be a little proper, right? So he basically he does Vyavahara through this mind, and so if mind has a lot of impurities, which he has understood as a Mithya, but then Vyavahara definitely those things will be reflected, and therefore he improves such a mind. That some jnanis will still do Nididhyasanam to improve the mind, but not considering mind as myself. That is not a knowledge. Anyway, so this is how, and there will be, as such, even after improving the mind, no one's mind will be perfect mind. See, all these shariras, 3 shariras we have, at any time there will be some degree of problem. Of course, Karana Sharira being Avyakta, we don't know how many issues are there in unconscious, etc. We don't know. Let us forget about it. But subtle body and the gross body will never be ideal. Gross body always healthy, absolute health. No, not possible. Therefore, subtle body also same. Both are shariras. So, subtle body also pure, absolute health. Healthy, totally healthy mind and everything. No. So, to an extent, one can improve. The Jnani also can improve in Nididhyasanam. Or else you remove that mechanical thinking. Just habitually you say, oh, I am samsari, I am jiva, etc. So, well, consciously you remove that notion now, because you know that you are Brahman very clearly through Shravanam Mananam. So, and so that is what Bhagavan said in, in this, I think, in his 17th chapter, or Prakashancha, Pravuttincha, Mohamevacha, Pandava, etc. So, all these things are there even in a Jnani. Prakasham, Pravuttim and Moham. Prakasham, Sattva. Pravutti, Rajoguna, and Moha, Tamoguna. So, this will be in Jnani also, these 3 gunas will fluctuate. So, enjoy to improve this body, or mind especially, is a hobby for this person. And so, he says asangoham, etc. So, Nididhyasanam is full to improve mind by knocking off certain self-judgment which are habitual. So, this is what this verse conveys. And so, Devam Sati, this being so, Mahavakya well generates this aparoksha jnana. So, up to this is the Vakyavritti. Now, from verse number 80 onwards, verse 79, verse 79, is, verse 80, verse 80 is now Vidyaranya quotes in his own, he says something. Vakyavritti shlokas are over here. We'll see that in the next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.